May 5th, Children's Day, or Vesak Day of Buddha's birthday here in Korea. These are some of the stories that's been grabbing attention, despite probably a lot of reporters not producing interesting stories out there, probably taking some days off. So people apparently have been calling ambulance for as a taxi that they can call up. And this is apparently an issue that's been rising in Korea. What happened was that they turned out to be drunk, or they just needed a ride. Basically lies, just so they can hitch a ride. So comments say we should just slap them with fines, like they do in the States. And there will always be political comments, someone saying this is RIP, or terror is the nickname for the Democratic Party presidential candidate Lee Jae-myung, and they would say he calls a chopper when he got a bit of a flesh wound. So what's the big deal? He was attacked with a knife, and they sent a helicopter to carry him to a hospital. Some would call it going overboard. Stop talking about one can be fined for such offenses and start fining them for these crazy offenses. What are the fire department authorities doing? They're probably the ones on the receiving end of this shtick. They should set a strong precedent to make sure the future successors of these firefighters won't have to go through these stupidities. Here's another comment that you will see anytime you talk about calls that are made to emergency first responders that doesn't make sense. Kim Moon-soo is currently the Conservative People Power Party's presidential candidate. After going primaries, he won the presidential candidate position in a landslide, but there are a lot of criticisms about him. Mainly, many people remember him for making a call to a first respondent and suddenly saying, "Do you know who this is?" without even mentioning who this is, who's calling, and expecting the first respondent to know who he is. And he kept asking, "Do you know who this is?" a couple of times. And the first respondent, of course, took this as a prank call, because this, the emergency hotline is for emergencies. You don't want to waste time answering someone who seems drunk or really out of it. So the first respondent hung up after he kept saying, "Do you know who this is?" several times without mentioning who he is. And this presidential candidate apparently took action to punish the first respondent. And that made headlines because the soundbite, the phone call, the voice recording was out there for everyone to watch and laugh at. Either he's power drunk, or he was just drunk at that point, who knows. But the fact that he made such a drastic move after the call, it kind of speaks volumes about the mental state of this particular individual. Of course, later on, he tried to make amends by taking photos with that first respondent and saying that, he was just trying to make sure that everyone's in shipshape and they would respond to even unreasonable calls like that. But a little bit too late for damage control there. If you make prank calls for ambulance and someone was on a life or death situation and needed the ride, you're practically the Grim Reaper. You're taking lives that way. So wake the hell up. We should just ditch whoever made this call. If they're trying to use ambulance as a cab, just kick them out of the car, the ambulance, right away. Another story is about a company that actually fined an employee who took out a snack from the fridge. Apparently it's a small Korean moon pie type of snack, which costs a couple of cents. And a superior official in the company said he offered the drivers snacks, but he did not allow the drivers to come have access to the fridge and take the snacks. So the comments are usually about angry. These are just evil corporations, and it should be, you should get rid of them. So apparently what they did was they went to, he made sure the employee who took the snack was charged. And yeah, you're making a 40-year-old employee pay a fine, go through legal procedures for a little snack. Taking legal action is weird. The judge who actually concluded that the snacking employee should be fined $50 is weird. So it's overall very strange. And one commenter analyzed that this snack is just an excuse. Apparently, probably these two had some very strong feelings against each other, and there's a history there. Yeah, another person said it's not about the snack, it's about the action. Even if it's something small, it could snowball into something big. It's a preventive measure. There's a famous saying that if you are trying to be accommodating, people assume that it is their right to demand such privileges. What is strange is that, yeah, stealing is wrong, but the law can come down hard on average Joes who committed these felony that you wouldn't even consider felony. But when it comes to politicians, God, they are so generous, so forgiving, and we have so many presidential candidates we have a presidential candidate with a criminal background running for president, referring to the Democratic Party candidate Lee Jae-myung. He is undergoing trial for various allegations, and there have been various cases surrounding or somewhat related with him that ended in some deaths. So there are many concerns about him as a presidential candidate, as this comment shows. A bus driver was fired for embezzling 800 won. That's about 50 cents. And apparently the court decided this is justifiable. So we need to be careful. The law is not looking after us. Apparently that's what they're trying to say. In Korea, when it comes to resumes and CVs, now we have AI getting the job done for us. AI is all the rage, but the more you depend on it, even when it comes to smartphones, if you start relying on smartphones, when you talk about having a conversation, when you can't come up with the name or you can't remember something, then don't talk about it. If you just Google it, it means that's cheating. Don't stop the conversation, but just because you need to Google something. And if you can't remember numbers and you need to consult your little black mirror to get the number of your closest friends, you have issues. How many numbers do we memorize? We are being more and more groomed and being more dependent on, we're being slaves to the machine. AI writing resumes. So apparently, recent survey shows that 4 out of 10 job applicants use AI. It's more than just about refurbishing or refining one's self-introduction. It actually works to help possible potential questions in future interviews on a job that one person is trying to apply for. Even with advanced technology, it's kind of hard to tell if someone was utilizing or was heavily dependent on AI for their resumes. Well, you need to back up what the AI provided. So the comment says, yeah, as long as you're not lying or making things up, it's fine if you consult AI or use AI. Already, huge corporations are using chatbots and AI for their self-improvements or upgrades. And even those who are already on the field and those veterans in these companies, divisions, are consulting AI already. So there is no way we can stop this trend. One more comment says, it is questionable. Why do we even need education if this is the trend that we're headed? It looks like there's not going to be anyone who should major in language or literature if this is the trend that we're leaning towards. As long as you're just asking the AI to like I said before, kind of trim the edges or make it look a little bit better, that's okay. But if you have AI do the whole thing, that's an issue. Actually, if you don't use AI for any assistance, you're missing out. Besides, if you're lying in the resume, whether it's AI or the god of resume creators, you'll be you'll be exposed once you start the interview process. They mentioned Cho Guk, a former lawmaker who is in jail right now for various issues related to her daughter's college application. They're talking about, I mean, he basically took the test and wrote the thesis or whatever that's necessary for her daughter to get into a great school. So I guess he was ahead of the curve in terms of serving as an AI to his daughter. Nowadays, we have courses that people pay money to be prepared for interviews, to learn how to write good resumes. So if AI is helping out for free, I don't see the problem. Again, another comment says if the AI is not creating something out of nothing, but just arranging the resume, trimming the edges, making it look better, I don't think that should be any illegality involved there. Running is all the craze in Korea these days. As you can tell, it's become more of a social event than physical activity or something that people do for fitness. And apparently, a New Balance is on the rise in terms of the fad in Korea. In Korea, trend and fad catches and spreads like wildfire. It burns and, just burns to a crisp and disappear. That's how trends are in Korea. So a New Balance store in the middle of a popular area that these people who apparently see running as a mating ritual more so than doing something for physical fitness, because serious runners would just go run themselves, not get together with strangers and hoping you run into a hottie. So what New Balance is doing to keep their business going is that because they know this running fad is going to die away someday, they're about renting. So for about $3, they're gonna rent clothing for about 2 hours. You can wear that and sweat it out and return it. Those super expensive sneakers with carbon and all the high technology, also for about $3 you can rent it. And yeah, this is an incredible service, but here's what people said. The comment shows that to try to save a few pennies with these sneakers, you're gonna get some infection if you're sharing shoes that someone else sweated in. I personally experienced it in the military. Yeah, it took me 25 years to heal from that. Of course, some people might be lucky, but yeah, foot fungal infections can be deadly. I mean, experiencing it, renting it is great, but if you're actually gonna sweat it out for a few hours, don't rent, don't share. No matter how hard you clean, there's going to be some kind of residual germ there. What about STD? There are various things soaked in sweat and whatnot. So don't just go cheap. Think about the future. Maybe this company should not even be pushing this program. And then another comment says that skiing, bowling, roller skate, you rent your shoes and run around in it. And public bathtubs, saunas, fitness clubs, you share towels anyway. You go to restaurants, you're using used spoon and bowl that's been gone through the dishwasher. And public transportation, what about it? Do you not take that? You think it's that clean? Even your own car, your car seat's gonna be full of germs. Your cell phone is gonna be a cesspool of germs.